Tasting, tasting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tasting, tasting. Tasty stuff. Got to love that ginger soda. Anyway, jokes aside, this is Curtis Wildcat, on YouTube as Phoebe Caden. I don't know how many people are going to watch this, since I made this video purely to summarize an attempt at a challenge I did for the old Descent video game. But, if you're one of the few who stumbled across this, then feel free to listen and learn. What I was trying for this game was the Shareware Arsenal Challenge. Descent's first 7 levels had been offered in the mid-1990s as shareware, and only 6 out of the 10 weapons were available. The basic laser cannons, which could be upgraded a handful of times, the Vulcan and spreadfire cannons, concussion and homing missiles, and proximity bombs. I was inspired to try this challenge after watching a guy by the name of Retro Challenge Gamer play through the game, and you'll find a link to the start of his challenge in the video summary. I tried to play the game to the best of my ability while following these rules. I had to play on the Hotshot difficulty setting, which is several steps up from the level I'm used to. I probably could have done better had I tried it on Rookie, but I wanted to say that I at least had the nerve to play it this way. I could not use the plasma and fusion cannons, or the smart missiles and mega missiles. No usage of invincibility power-ups. If I had absolutely no choice but to collect one to proceed, then I had to skedaddle to a place that was already clear of enemy robots and wait for it to wear off. And avoiding any death spew. That is, I could not collect any power-ups that were dropped from my ship upon losing a life. And finally, as a secondary objective, I had to rescue all the hostages in the mine where possible. Now for the meat of this video, how I fared in attempting this challenge. The first 6 levels weren't all that bad, even with the introduction of the Class 1 drillers on level 6. Most of level 7 was the same way, until I got to the boss robot. Ugh. I tried a variant on my usual tactics for this one. While I was doing the level, I left alone any homing missiles that I found unless I really needed them. When I reached the boss chamber, I'd pop into the room, fire off a homing missile or 2 at the mooks in the area, then hurriedly reverse my way back out the red door before it shut and locked me in. I repeated this process until I'd exhausted all the homing missiles in the level, and inevitably I was left with no choice but to confront the smart missile packing boss. Yeah, I know there are better ways to beat it than to play cat and mouse with that thing, but what can I say? I hate it when the game forces me to play up close and personal. I lost 3 lives in the hostages I'd picked up before the stupid thing was out of the way. Moving on from the Shareware levels to the Mars levels, I lost 3 lives in level 8, and 1 each on levels 9 and 10. I don't know why I lost only 1 for level 9 when I felt it was harder than 8. As for level 10, this was one of the few mines in the registered version that I knew considerably well, including where most of the traps were. The only real dicey bit was that Super Hulk generator, but my cat and mouse MO served me in good stead here. After that came the Jupiter levels, and along with it one of my 2 major mess-ups in trying this challenge. As some of you gamers may know, level 11 is a whole other kettle of meatloaf. Why meatloaf? Because I don't like fish. I beat it and moved on to level 12, but halfway through I accidentally fired a smart missile at one of the enemies. Normally this would have constituted an end to the challenge, and a failure at that, but I wasn't willing to go through the rigmarole of the prior levels again. So I reloaded from a prior save point, which should have been considered cheating except for one minor thing. That last save was at the start of level 11, so I had to go through that whole mess again. I figured that was punishment enough for me, and as you'll see at the end of this video, it had an impact on my final grade. At any rate, I had 2 deaths on level 11, 3 on 12, 2 more on 13, and 4 on 14. The Saturn levels. I had 2 deaths each on levels 15 and 16, and 4 on 17. Level 16 had my other major smart missile-based mess-up, so I was left with no choice but to reload from my last save point and dock some points off my final grade. Also on 16, I had an attack of forgetfulness. I completely forgot that I hadn't picked up the hostages until after the reactor was already blown. I was undecided for a moment as to what to do, and finally I decided to just move on. That's the kind of mistake that bothers me. But anyway, moving on. The Uranus levels. Ugh, that was an absolute nightmare. And you want to know why? Oh! That is why. Sorry about that, but I feel it underscores the trouble I had with those mines as a whole. I only lost 1 life on 18, and no lives on 21, but I lost 4 each on 19 and 20. And I think I may actually have had 5 lost on 20 and just miscounted due to how angry I was at the time. After I lost all those lives, I admit it, I outright save scummed my way through the end of level 20.
Cheater! 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 Cheater!
Shut up already! Thank you! Well, down goes my grade again. On to Neptune. I lost 1 life on 22, 4 on 23, and 3 on 24, but I don't feel as furious about losing that many this time. Compared to the Pac-Man maze that level 20 was, with ghosts everywhere and no power pellets to help me, the Neptune levels were a serious breather. Not even the arrival of the Fusion Hulks on level 23 could discourage me this time. One thing of note is that around this time I started experiencing some graphics glitches, such as hearing robot noises even when they weren't in a position to fire at me. Yeah, I know that's not a graphics glitch per se, but you know what I mean. And certain robots, stating the Fusion Hulks in level 23's reactor area as examples, looking like they were going through the walls. It was kind of creepy and it had me more on edge than it should have, but it didn't crash my game or anything, so I dealt with it and moved on. And I made another mistake on this level, but this one was more amusing than anything else. I accidentally fired off the fusion cannon once, but it wasn't at any enemy robots. What did I fire it at? The door. That's right, the door. Waste of energy, but at least I didn't destroy anything with it, and I switched to lasers right after that, but I still thought it was kind of funny. Finally, at long last, the Pluto levels. Level 26 was the only one in the whole game that I practiced on before starting it, as I wanted to find some way to deal with that Fusion Hulk monster at the start of the level. I tried a few ideas and none of them worked out. Finally, I decided to just let him have it as soon as the robot spawned. This plan rested on me having level 4 quad lasers at the start of the level, though. So while I was on level 25, I made sure I was able to grab the needed power-ups from elsewhere in the mine, if need be, before I blew the reactor. Once I started level 26, I first took out the drones and small hulks that were attacking me. I then triggered the Monson, immediately placed myself in front of the grates so that my lasers could pass through, and fired away. If I started firing immediately when the generator lit up, I could take out the Fusion Hulks before they fully formed. The only close call was on the first one, when the Hulk got off a blast before it was destroyed, but thankfully it hit the other side of the grate. After that, it was just a matter of lathering, rinsing, repeating, and mulling over how little shampoo I had left when the Monson ran out of mooks. Now, level 27. In a way, it was a disappointment. I'm pretty sure that this has to do with the version of Descent that I own. This has never happened to me on either the trainee or rookie skill levels. The boss robot would disappear and try to teleport, as per usual. But not only did it always end up in the same exact spot it started from, it didn't spawn a single robot. At all. The boss was still dangerous. It pegged me with a mega missile when I left the room to grab another cloak. But the rest of the level gave me more frustration than the boss did. Less I... Now then, how did I fare score-wise? Well, let's find out. And there we have it. Not sure how well it shows up there on the video, but final score was around 3.6 million. 3630640. Oh man, I am glad that is over, definitely. Now then, let's see what my final grade is. First we start with 100 points. Counting the 6 deaths I had during the Pluto levels, 1 and 25, 3 and 26, and 2 and 27, I lost 50 lives over the course of the run. Divide that by 5 and you get 10. Subtract that from 100 and you get 90. With me so far? Also, we'll subtract 7 points for each of my smart missile gaffes. That's a total of 14. Subtracted, we're down to 76 points. Next is my fusion cannon mistake. We only deduct 3 points for that one, since the idea of using that weapon just to open a door is a funny one. That brings me down to 73 points. Subtract 5 points from my bout of save scumming, and 2 more points for the levels where I didn't rescue the hostages. That brings me down to, I believe, 66 points. A D. D as in descent. That is not a good grade. Oh boy. Well, that challenge was far harder than I gave it credit for. I suppose next time, if I try something like this again, it's going to have to be on the rookie level. Because Hotshot just gave me way too much stress. And if I see another Class 1 driller again, it'll be too soon. I have a feeling I'm not going to try this again for Descent 2 or anything like that. I'll just leave that in the hands of those who know what they're doing. In closing, I don't expect to post too much on my YouTube account. Maybe something Toho related, I have no idea. But, until then, chow mein, and I'll see you next time. Oh man, I'm out of ginger soda already.